Good morning. This is Rick Bogger. We're high in the Birch Creek Valley. This is Saturday, October 27th, 1990. We are pushing the hiking season a little bit late, but this promises to be a lovely day today. Our destination is going to be Rust Peak, which is elevation 10,759 feet. In order to climb Rust Peak, we'll have to drop down into Rocky Canyon again. That's the real steep motorcycle descent. And let's take a look at the neighboring peaks. Immediately to the north of Rust Peak, we have the Incredible Hulk. Bell Mountain at 11,612 feet is named for Robert Bell, who was the state mines inspector in Idaho. He died in 1935. He frequented this area quite often. He's a transplanted Englishman and apparently created Bell Mountain is named for Robert Bell, who is the Idaho state mines inspector around the turn of the century, a transplanted Englishman. Meadow Peak, named for its lovely high meadow at well over 10,000 feet, just below the 10,600 and some foot summit. And our road ahead. From the floor of Rocky Canyon, here's a nice view of our destination today, Rust Peak. There's a view of the brow. From Rocky Canyon. Approaching the forks of Rocky Canyon, we will be taking the left-hand fork. And as we look up the left-hand fork, excuse me, the right-hand fork, we can see Lexi's Peak on the main crest of the Lemhi Range. As we look up to Rust Peak, we see aspen past their prime. And we hope to be up there in a couple of hours. In the forks of Rocky Canyon, this is true Indian summer today. Rust Peak gets its name for that reddish rock among the gray limestone. We are hiking up the south-facing gully of the peak. We're almost up to the saddle, just past those spruce trees. Here we are in a good position to survey the gendarmes on the southwest slope of Rust Peak. And what they are limestone outcrops. The reddish rock is a slate, which is a softer rock that erodes quicker. Our route up will be in that direction. There they are. This mountain is just littered with mountain sheep, mountain goat tracks. and I wondered where they were. Now we see. It is totally awesome the way those animals can climb. I'm envious. We've been hiking up from the saddle, and we've entered the home of the mountain goats, and you can see they're protected by the steepness of the slope. Bart Simpson, don't you laugh at me just because I'm slip sliding away here on this slate. Okay, you Bart Simpson rock, I'm above you now. Who in their right mind would want to climb this mountain? Just a bit more to go, you old rusty guy. The bear went over the mountain, the bear went over the mountain, the bear went over the mountain. To see what he could see, to see what he could see. And all that he could see, and all that he could see was the other side of the mountain, the other side of the mountain, the other side of the mountain was all that he could see. As they say in the Alps, c'est en première. This is a first ascent. We are the first ones to stand on top of Rust Peak, elevation 10,759 feet in the Lemhi Range, looking at Birch Creek Valley. And I'll take you on a guided tour here. Okay, let's take a look around at our lovely peaks. Right in front of us is the brow, 10,994 feet. Continuing south along the main crest of the Lemhis is Diamond Peak, 12,197 feet. Right behind Diamond Peak, sticking its head up, is 11,598 foot Riddler. On the way up to the brow, we ascended the Golden Staircase, where we saw the mountain goat. And in the distance, we have Joker Peak, Mount Nicholson, 11,051 feet. (10,946 foot) peak, Lexi's Peak. Down to the saddle and up to slightly smaller Amy's Peak, 10,723 feet. Looking west to the Lost River Range, Holly Mountain in the Little Lost Valley is apparent to us there. And behind that is Mount Andrus. I think that was Mount McCaleb. Let me take that back. These are really hard to identify from this angle. There's Mount Andrus and Mount Breitenbach. And there's Bora Peak, the highest in the state, 12,662 feet. Nearer to us is the main crest of the Lemhi Range. Some of those peaks perhaps as yet have never experienced human footprints on top. Bell Mountain. Big Creek Peak. The Incredible Hulk at 10,858 feet due north of us. We ascended the Incredible Hulk from that low saddle up Meadow Canyon. That's the north spur of Rust Peak. Dropping down off the summit, down into Rocky Canyon, where the motorcycle is parked. Looking across to the Beaverhead Range, Scott Peak, and right across us on the other side of Rocky Canyon is Game Traverse, about elevation 10,030 feet. Copper Mountain in the Beaverhead Range is right behind it. Moving south, Squaw 2, Squaw 1, Lame J. That brings us back to Diamond Peak and our start. We just built this summit cairn out of slate. They're easier to build out of slate, by the way. And now we will leave the summit register in our Ziploc baggie here. There we are for safekeeping until somebody else decides they want to work their way up this grind. Let's walk over to the north summit just to confirm that the south summit is the higher of the 2 points. When you're standing on a point looking at another point and that point looks about as high as you are, chances are you're higher. That seems to be the tendency in the mountains. We were just over on the south peak of Rust Peak, and you see that is the high point, and there's the cairn that we just built at the top. But as we were standing on that point looking over to where we are now, this point, which is lower, looked to be almost the same height. And that's our descent route down the slate to the saddle and then back into Rocky Canyon. Before we head down, let's just look around a while. As we look over across Rocky Canyon to the flank of Game Traverse, look at that brilliant red rock up there. Wonder what that is. Next week, weather permitting, I'd like to climb that peak over there, which is called Jump on the topographical map. That's the benchmark location at the top. But I'd like to make a commemorative climb. For if we were able to do this one next weekend, it would be the 100th anniversary of the first claiming of water rights from Jump Creek and Cottonwood Creek, which flow off that mountain. The water rights were filed by Oliver Ransom, and I think it would be appropriate to name the peak as an alternate name, Ransom Peak. Well, we'll have to see what the weather's like. It's liable to turn, and we'll have winter here in a short time, but that would be my goal for next weekend. See you around, Bart Simpson. Okay, hold on tight. Here we're going to go scree skiing. Whoa! Let's try that again. I think we can do a little better. That's more like it. that was the descent route we just came down. Here's a good example of a game trail. Game trails really don't go up or down, they more or less just go across in desultory fashion. We're off the mountain now, back near the forks of